I'm Thorin, also known as the Esports Historian, and I am here exclusively for Esports Bet, the industry's leading crypto odds matrix, to provide you with my outright odds analysis for the LEC season finals. So for people who don't know, the change to the LEC format this year involved, instead of just 2 splits and then the playoffs of the summer split effectively operating as a qualifier for Worlds, they had 3 small splits that qualify you to an overall season finals, which is what's coming up this weekend and for a bunch of weekends. And then the top 4 teams from there potentially go to Worlds. The 4th one obviously plays the 4th seed from NA, which is going to be Golden Guardians now, to decide whether LCS or LEC gets the extra spot. So obviously Esports Bet, if you've never put any crypto onto their site before, you can use the link in the description box below, and they have got their classic first time deposit match bonus of 50% up to 100 USDT, so you can get more from your crypto there. And if you don't have any crypto to play with, but you want to play along and have some fun on the site and potentially earn some crypto, you can use ESC, which is their rebranded DJT, their own token that you can use on the website. Now what you can do is they have a bunch of promotions available for a limited time only, so do not delay. And basically, if you want to get a bunch of them, do the following. You can follow Esports Bet on Twitter at Esports Bet for 5,000 ESC. You can follow esportsbet.io on Instagram for 5,000 ESC. And if you want the big one, you can get 10,000 ESC just for going to the Esports Bet Discord, discord.gg/esportsbet. If you do any of the aforementioned, message the mod mail on Discord or the customer support on the website, tell them about the promotion that you've done it, and they will credit your account accordingly with ESC. Once you have ESC, you can bet, make predictions, and potentially convert to USDT. Check out esportsbet.io for more information. So first things first, how do you find the outright odds? You might be asking, maybe you've never done it before on the site, so I'm going to show you. So obviously I pick my currency, but it's not going to be the usual area of the esports pool that you're thinking of. Like obviously for League of Legends, I go straight to the top here, don't I? And then I pick what I'm doing, CB LOL. No, you don't do that. On this one, what you're going to do here goes like this. You're going to go all the way down on the left, and at the bottom, you got outright. You're going to go to here. Look, see, up here, they've got like some Smash Brothers thing, the International in Dota, Gamers 8 in CSGO, and LEC Finals. That's what we want right there. LEC Finals. That's what we're going to be watching. So you're going to click on that. You notice there's still a few days remaining, and here you see on the right hand side you've got all the teams. Obviously in this particular case for the season finals there are only 6 teams here out of the 10. The other 4 did not qualify, including most famously Team Vitality themselves. Even Koi, last year's number 1 seed for Worlds, was not able to make it. So what we have is we have G2, Fnatic, Mad Lions, XL, BDS and SK Gaming, and crucially we are only looking now for the winner. It doesn't matter how well you do in this. If you do awesome, you come second. If you should have been 6th, but you come 3rd. Only the winner matters. So all we're really looking at is how likely is it they can win? Can they win? And then are the odds appropriate? So let's get into it, shall we? So first things first, we'll just start at the top. G2 is a massive favourite for this tournament, not least because they were easily the best team over the entire year. I mean, remember, if Mad Lions didn't beat them the way they beat them in the spring split, it's probably all 3 titles going to G2. Like, they were good enough for that to be the case. And even their like slip up looks like, the story goes, they've been winning seemingly every scrim. It seems like they've won 70 to 80% of scrims throughout the whole year, including even the split they didn't win and didn't even actually get to go that far in the playoffs. So this seems to be far and away the best team. It's been far and away the best lineup in the LEC. And when you look at how they've played, they're the only team that has either nailed them better, the current meta, or been ahead of it. Like this last split, you could argue they were ahead of it with all the sort of Braum matchups they were doing in bot lane. You go back, they had all the Draven matchups back in winter, going into spring. This team has just nailed how to play. And for my money, we've talked about this a lot on Summoning Insight, I think they have the best player in the LEC. And that is not Caps, by the way. That is not even... No, the best player in the LEC is Mickey X. Mickey X is so good this year. This might be the best year of his career. He's actually been superlative. So I do think they have a very good chance to win. Bearing in mind, this, you have to remember, is a tournament that's all about best of 5 series in a double limb bracket, and the top teams, the top 4, start in the upper, and then the others get only 1 life in the lower, right? So I actually think G2 has a fabulous chance of winning this. The problem is, because of that, they've been bet to oblivion. 1.351 is slightly below what I like to take even for teams that I think are a lock. Now, I will say, if you have a decent bankroll and you also want to just enjoy watching G2 win, I don't hate this. You can take this. 1.351. They are so likely to win, and it is best of 5 and double limb, that I think that is still safe enough. I think you will actually reliably profit if you actually pick this. I would say that myself. It's still slightly below what I like, but it's still not like it's nothing. It's not like it's 0.0 like some of those KT or playoff series you see in LCK where it's like a big dog against a nobody and everyone just bets on the favourite. 1.351's not terrible. It can still happen. Obviously, though, if you've got a favourite bet that heavily, you're going to get a lot of value for some of the dark horses. So when we look at the dark horses, you have got insane value here. So you can start straight away with Fnatic. Look, yes, Fnatic didn't even make the final. They didn't actually make it to be the team that could contest G2 like we all hoped. But I tell you what, the potential's still there though. The key thing for me is, out of all these lineups, Fnatic along with Mad Lions is at least a team that has a ceiling. Like, they at least have a ceiling where they could win a game and beat G2. They could be better than G2 in a match. They could win a couple of games against G2 in a series. So there is a chance that they can win this. I actually think 5.208 odds pretty good. The obvious knock on Fnatic is you still have Razork and Humanoid, who's never really been able to synergize. And then even though Noah looks like a stud and the Trimby moves worked and the Oscarden line's gotten better and better every split, they're still pretty inexperienced. Like, this is not a team that I can trust to be in a final, to win a final. That's my biggest knock on Fnatic. So that's why, if you're a massive Fnatic fan or you really believe in Noah, I don't hate this as a dark horse pick. I think your odds, remember, they don't even have to win 1 in 5 times for this to be worth it. But then as we go down, look, you're going to have a lot more cojones, but there's some really interesting bets down here. So Mad Lions at 8. Now, that might sound ridiculous because Mad Lions has lost a bazillion games in a row. What is it, 9, 10 individual games in a row at this point? So obviously, yes, this is the worst Mad Lions has looked all year long. They're in terrible position. Their read on the meta's bad. Some of their players are off form. But you just look at the roster, and that's why this team, at one point, was contended for best team in the LEC. They won the spring split. They were in the finals of the winter split. They looked like maybe they'll even get it together in the group stage of this last summer split and make a playoff run. That's because, on paper, it's not a perfect roster, but it's a really nice roster, right? Elyoya was at one point the best jungler in the LEC. You go down the roster, Hilasan can be very dangerous on his picks. Kazi was actually playing some of the best meta approach to ADC if you go back a few months. And then you go elsewhere. Chasey, I'm not a big fan of him, but it's a pretty weak top lane pool. He's good. Niski's just a solid player, above average mid laner, at times at his best, not currently. Potentially one of the best players in the LEC, not least by virtue of playing mid lane. So the key thing for me is this: there is an outside chance this team gets it together. Now, winning it, here's the funny thing. That does seem implausible, but they have already done it this year, haven't they? Like, it seems implausible, even though it happened, that they win spring. But they did, and they beat G2 in a best of 5 to do it. So I don't really buy that they're going to do it, but 8 odds are pretty enormous, right, for the third most likely team to win. So I don't hate that if you want to take a really crazy flyer and you're just betting on, essentially, pick 2 out of these 3. If Elyoya, Kazi, or Niski have a good series, 2 out of those 3, they can play and compete with anyone. And if you get like 3 of them have a good series, or Lord forbid, someone like Chasey actually like slightly outperform a Broken Blade, why can't they just win in general? So again, I don't hate this as a dark horse. Similarly, this is where I'm going to give you a little pro tip. You might think the really crazy money surely on XL, right? I mean, look at them. 9.009 odds to win. But you look at it, right? They almost beat G2, didn't they? They almost beat them in that upper bracket final. It was a 5-game series. Then they beat Fnatic. So clearly they're a top 2-3 team in the league. They've actually been pretty solid. The other thing as well about this team is, I always say, the floor's kind of impressive. They look well coached. Like the pieces weren't like direct upgrades over the overall player, but for the team they were. And the team got better and they shored up a lot of their weaknesses. The problem is, notice the way I'm phrasing that. I'm not saying there's some like super high ceiling team that can knock out blood. No, it's actually the weaknesses that have been reduced. So the problem I have here is this: those are fabulous dark horse odds for the 4th most likely team to win this particular tournament. And there's a world where they almost did beat G2. The problem is, I don't think they would have beaten G2 twice. Even if they'd beaten them once, they would have still gotten smacked around in the final anyway. So I don't actually think I would bet on this at 9 odds, because the problem I have with XL is this: I think the floor of the team is good. So I think they could come 2nd or 3rd. I think they'll probably go to Worlds if I had to bet. But I don't think they can actually win. The difference is, I think there is a world where Fnatic and Mad Lions can win. I think there's even a world, if I'm getting really crazy as I'm about to, where maybe even BDS can win. That sounds ridiculous because of some of their players, but if I think about peak form this year, it's not impossible. But I actually don't think XL can win. So I would personally say I think XL's a little bit of a sneaky trap. I'd rather go with Fnatic or Mad Lions as my dark horse. Or, if you're really nuts, go with BDS. The problem with BDS is this. The Adam component, I think, just right now, this is one of the worst times ever for him to be in the game, especially when I look at some of the people he'll have to beat to actually win this tournament. Then I go and look, Nook has just fallen off a cliff for some reason, Nuke, whatever people call him, just hasn't really had his game there. Yeah, he had like the Silas games that looked pretty cool, or the Jace, it was Jace, yeah, that looked pretty fire, but that was just a one-off. It never really was here for the last few months. Shio just hasn't been the same level of player, so Crownshot's still brilliant, Labrov's still pretty good. I just don't think they're good enough overall. Now, they are 20 odds. So you know what? 20 odds is bonkers. I might even say just for the lulz, I'll put like 50 on them just because they're 20. Actually, maybe I'll do 25 just for the lulz. Because 25 would still get me 500 because it's 20 odds, isn't it? And then what I'll do is this. I'm going to say that just to show you, put you anywhere your mouth is before, I'm going to do a tiny bet on Mad Lions. What we'll do for this one is we'll do 100. And then I'm just going to leave it. I'm actually not going to do the G2 one because I don't like the odds enough. So I'm going to say those. Now, in terms of SK Gaming, I think SK Gaming cannot win this. First of all, there aren't enough Akali angles in the world for Certus to win this. And even then, he wouldn't be guaranteed to win 3 out of 5 games. I think you look at the rest of the team, the problem they've always had is Marcoon is good, but he is not he's not what we wanted Bo to be, like some super god tier mechanical prodigy who could carry the game himself, which he turned out even Bo didn't manage to manifest in LEC as beyond the first 3 weeks. So I just don't think there's enough strength in the squad. They could be solid. There's a world where they can mess around, by the way, and come like top 4, make worlds. Not impossible. I think Irrelevant's very solid. I think Marcoon is good. I actually think like Exakiki is a good player. He was overhyped because of the winter split, but he is a good player. He's definitely someone who has real talent and should be in LEC for years to come. So the good thing about the finals is there are no actually super bomb teams. There's a world where maybe Mad Lions and BDS just do terribly here. I don't think the ceiling's high for SK, but they can definitely qualify. Winning the tournament, I think, is ridiculous. I don't even care about the 21. So, 20 odds for a BDS is at least possible if everything goes right. Even if everything goes right, I don't think it's possible for SK Gaming. So for me, crucially, this is what you're doing. You're either just doing a very simple, boring, and you're just hoping it all works out, which it probably will. G2 bet, you'll just get marginal odds. Not bad, 1.351, but nothing crazy. Or you're a massive Fnatic fan and you just say, you know what, F it, let's just let it ride. Or you're just gambling for Mad Lions. This is the real dark horse, to just get it together with the roster. I think it can happen. They've got a very good coaching staff. Or you're going really nuts that BDS does some miracle run for 20 to 1. But I would personally say, stay away from XL. And I think XK, even at 20 odds, is just fool's gold. I don't think there's anything there personally. So who do you think wins LEC outright, gets that number 1 seed, and goes to Worlds? Because obviously in this case, everyone's going to say G2. But if it isn't G2, you want to look like a genius and have another name. So who would you say? Write in the comments below.